You mentioned the IR changes or alluded to them before around the digital economy. What do you make of the broad view of the government that so-called gig workers, and let's talk about a specific occupation, it's a bit easier, so someone that's driving for Uber, they can earn very low salaries per hour, and that can be something that isn't just a once-off, it can happen quite regularly. Do you think it's fair enough to enact some changes around this? Consumers might pay a little bit more, but someone, as a result, can actually earn a living. Is that a fair enough principle to be guided by?
I think what we've got here is a government that in this area, as in so many others, is responding to the preferences of the union bosses. Let's remember only around 8% of Australian private sector employees are union members. And so the agenda that is very important to Mr Burke and his colleagues, because the Labor bosses, the union bosses control their pre-selections, is not what's necessarily in the best interest of Australians. Now, if there are specific issues, of course, about workplace safety, those need to be specifically addressed. Nobody is questioning that. But what we're seeing here is a very broad legislative framework that will, in many ways, impede the innovation and the creativity through which services are delivered to Australians and services are provided by Australians who earn money doing so over digital platforms. And that's been a major change in our economy over the last 10, 15, 20 years. The fact is the union bosses would prefer a 1950s-style regulated economy. This is a government that says it supports innovation, but it's going in precisely the wrong direction on these issues.
Okay,
and I think that is very,
you singled out the
unfortunate.
safety aspect, but what's your view around the pay aspect? Do you think it should be a case of let the market decide, and if people are working for these services, whatever hourly rate they end up with, they don't have to keep working if they don't want to? Is that your view on it in terms of principle?
The point I would make is that there are many different kinds of digital platforms, but what they are effectively is marketplaces where those who want to sell goods or services come together with those who wish to purchase them, or it might be renting on a short-term or a long-term basis, but transacting. The Labor Party is inherently hostile to the notion of people being contractors, people being business people. They want everybody forced into a particular rigid framework, and that is not consistent with the preferences that Australians have displayed in the way that they want to take advantage of the flexibility many of these platforms offer.
That sounds like
to give
let the market decide.
And for incremental.
You're entitled to say that. I'm just trying to clarify your position. You're saying if the rate of pay was so dire, people wouldn't do it. Let the market decide.
What I'm saying is that the innovation we've seen with digital platforms has been a positive development for our economy. We know that digital technology allows for increased productivity. We know Australia has a serious productivity problem. The intergenerational report released by the Treasurer the other day reminded us of that fact. And yet what this government is doing is imposing onerous new regulation and restrictions and barriers on the digital economy. That is going in the wrong direction when it comes to productivity, but it's also flying in the face of the choices that Australians have made, both as providers of goods and services over platforms and as consumers of them.